Welcome back, everyone, to the OIS Retina podcast. Again, thank you for joining us. I'm Firas Rahhal, a partner at Retina Vitreous Associates here in Los Angeles, and also a general partner at Excite Ventures out of New York. And I'm delighted to have my friend today as a guest, Gianluca Rossetti, who is the Director of Strategic Planning and Corporate Business Development at Dompé. I know Gianluca very well. We have hung out a lot. We've talked a lot of business and other things. Gianluca, thank you for joining the program and being willing to do this podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, your title currently, and we're going to talk a little bit about your history personally and, currently what you're doing at the company, but your current title, as I just said, is Director of Strategic Planning and Corporate Business Development for Dompé, and everyone knows who Dompé is. They have a big presence in ophthalmology. But before we get into what you're doing now there, I want to talk a little bit about your personal history so we get to know how you came to this position with Dompé and in the field of ophthalmology. I saw that your previous education was you have a bachelor's degree in management and a master's degree in international business and economics at the same university, University of Pavia in Lombardy. When you were there in school, and I don't know what years you were in school, you're a very young man, so probably not that long ago, unlike me. What was your plan at that time? What kind of career plan did you have in mind? And tell us a little bit about that university. Most of us are not familiar with it.
Yeah, thank you very much. During my last year at college, I started to work in a very small management consulting boutique. And so I realized quite early that I wanted to work as a consultant to kick off my career for several reasons. I thought back at the time it would have been the best way to experience different industries, different type of projects, ranging from commercial, manufacturing, operations, and so on and so forth, and have the possibility to travel the world and really learn as much as possible. And I think it was the right choice because I had the chance to experience a lot of different things. When I got the chance to start to work in the pharma industry, I realized it was my industry. So I started to focus my time first in medical devices and then in the pharma industry. So I think management consulting is the right way of one of the right way to start to kick off your career, because day one you can have an impact on what you do. You're exposed to C-levels, executives of big corporations, so you are like a young guy sitting in these big board meetings and boardrooms, and really you can have an impact on what you do, and you see things that you present and do on slides be transformed in something concrete at the end of the day. So it's really like a good kickoff of your career, I would say. So I do not regret it.
Yeah, it looks like, and I saw this in your history, and I think you told me about it once before. You worked for a company, it looks like for 5 or 6 years between 2014 and 2019, known as Tefin Management Consulting. What kind of consulting work were you doing there? What was your role there, and how did you like that one?
It was a good one. First of all, it was an international environment. We had back at the time offices in Tel Aviv. The company was an Israeli company, so the headquarters was in Tel Aviv, is in Tel Aviv. Then offices in Milan, London, and New York. We had 140 people in 2014 in New York City, all consultants. And the company had several industries as clients, but the majority of those were in the pharma and medical devices industry. So I started to work more and more, as I said, in the pharma business. And the good thing is that we experience different type of projects. So from API manufacturing, strategic footprint, to commercial reorganization, strategic planning, due diligence, R&D due diligence. So you finish up having like a different point of views of how an organization works, and you finish up covering different roles within an organization. So it's a good gym, I used to say, because at the end of the day, you're not like starting in a big corporation that doing like one specific job, but every 2-3 weeks or 2-3 months, you change a bit the perspective of your job and what you do. So it was a good academy for me to learn the pharma industry in different roles and in different parts of one organization and multiple organizations. So when you work with J&J and then you work for Boston Scientific, and then you work for Italian big pharma, you finish up also understanding how different company works. So you also have benchmarks within the industry and among industries and between different corporations. So I think it was a good academy, as I said.
Yeah, I get the point. I never thought of it this way, but it makes a lot of sense for young people going into this business. Starting out in consulting really does show you both vertically and horizontally all the different aspects of managing and running a business at the different levels within an industry, and also across all the different industries horizontally, how they differ and how they're similar, manufacturing versus industrial versus environmental or pharma. So what did you see about, I know you joined with Dompé, Director of Strategic Planning in 2020. What did you see in pharma that led you to, how did you end up going to pharma? Obviously, as you say, you liked it when you were exposed to it as a consultant, but specifically around that time when you made the jump to Dompé, what was going on and how did you pursue that? What led to that change at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I like the pharma for two main reasons. The first one is science. I'm not a scientist by training, but I try to catch up with science along my journey. So I learn a lot and I study a lot. So I got to a point where I can talk about science, and I think yeah, it's really fascinating. And I like the innovation funnel from many reasons. The first one is the binary outcome: either you fail or you succeed, and I think it's unique. Yeah, when you do a business plan, it can be like the base case is 100 and you overperform or downperform. Here it's like binary, 0 or 1. And this is really fascinating for me. And so if you apply scientific knowledge, you rely on the scientific people, and you combine with the finance number, probability of success, it's really like a unique situation. So I wanted to work for a pharma. I didn't think back at the time to leave management consulting, but I got approached by Dompé. I had some connections in common with the current CEO of the company. She's also a former consultant. So I said, why not? Let's go there and listen and learn more about the company. And it really was the right fit for me for many different reasons. It's a Milanese company. I'm from Milan, the company headquartered in Milan, but with the ambition of growing internationally, with the focus in the US, with a solid principle, solid ethic guidelines, and driven by innovation, driven by science. I got to learn some of the people in the team, very talented people. And also I like a lot that the company has been founded 130 years ago, and it still has one single shareholder that drives the strategy, and the passion of the shareholder really gained my attention, and I decided to join the company when I got the offer. So it's a mix of the industry, the ambition of the company, and the roots of the company. So
yeah, I'm intrigued by your comment about the all or none, the 0 or 1. That there's a certain thrill in that. And our friend and my partner Michael Nissen, I joke with him all the time. It's somewhat what drives surgeons to love surgery. Also, there is a bit of a thrill in this sort of success, failure kind of danger. Sometimes, maybe too much. And I joke with him that he's kind of a thrill seeker. He likes all these crazy high-speed sports and cars, and sometimes that can get us into trouble. But I see your point about the pharma industry, among other businesses, is an all or none, and there's a little bit of a gambler's thrill in it, because you want to hit the one, but you got to take some bad losses at times.
Yeah, and I think R&D and BD are pretty much the same thing. It's an history of failures to get to one good success. So you need to keep trying, and I think it's really fascinating. And also, as I said, I wanted to have an impact when I started to work as a consultant. And what we do here as a pharma company is ultimately when we get to the one, so we succeed, is we bring an innovative solution for patients. So I think it's really rewarding when you get there and you see that you can have an impact on someone else's life. I think this is also one of the reasons why I like pharma a lot, because the results are meaningful for real.
Yeah, no question. When you get the hit and you get the one, it does ultimately impact thousands, if not millions of people quite quickly. So there's a thrill in that. And I agree that's what drives the joy in the business. Tell us then, it's a good segue. Tell us about your current position, what you're doing, specifically your own role there. It sounds like you always like the idea of travel. I know you do a fair amount of travel because I see you here in the States frequently. Tell us about that position that you're in now, and then we'll talk a little bit about the company and some of the products after that.
Yeah, thank you. So in my team, we covered three things. So we have three pillars. The first one is strategic planning. So we do define the strategy, the priorities of the company in the 5-year time horizon, and more specifically for the next year, for the coming years, more details planning on everything. So the R&D programs, the business results, and business goals. And we do it, I would say, in a different way. So we try to do it bottom up. So we collect input from the whole organization and the key leaders in the different parts of the organization. And we try to combine all the inputs in what we think is the right strategy, and then circle back with everybody, cascading down the strategy to the whole organization. So we ensure that everybody are aligned with the goal and the strategic priorities. So this is the first pillar of what we do. The second one is in detail on the strategic project and the most important projects, either from the R&D or other parts of the organization. We kind of do an advanced PMO exercise. So we define the plan, the objectives, the KPIs to measure the plan, we give the responsibility. So we kind of coordinate from a project management standpoint everything. And we try to anticipate delays. We escalate situations. We unlock bottlenecks. So it's really like an advanced PMO work. And the third one that I think is the most important, especially in these weeks, in these months, is business development, where we try to enlarge the number of molecules we have, increase our portfolio in ophthalmology specifically, or potentially build a new franchise beyond ophthalmology from a commercial standpoint, come up with the partnership for our XCLET drug discovery platform. So it's really like a business development goal. We have the objective, of course, to grow our company and to grow the number of molecules we have, with some strict criteria, in a way that we don't want to have any Me-Too products. We don't want to have anything that has no impact on patients or very low level of innovation. So the entrepreneur, the shareholder, myself, and all the management team, we're looking for something that can be meaningful for patient, and hopefully we'll find something that will reach our pipeline in the short term.
It's a lot there, and I'm sure it's a very complicated and time-sensitive process. Who is part of the team that you were alluding to, not specifically by name, but what types of positions are people that are part of this team with you in your position? And do you then report and consult directly with the chairman, Mr. Dompé, the shareholder group, once you've come to these kind of analyses?
Yeah, I mean, we have a team of former consultants. Of most of my team are former consultants, because we have at the end of the day the same approach to the work. So I like to work with them, and some of them are my former colleagues. So I hired them to create this function, because when I joined Dompé, we didn't have like a dedicated group of people for business development. Or we had it, but less robust, I would say. And also we rely, of course, on who has the right competences in verticals. So we have some ophthalmologists that we talk regularly with, both consultants and within the team. So it's a mix of different capabilities, because you need to know how to drive the process, but also need to know the detailed content with the right amount of knowledge. We do not report as a function directly to the chairman, but to the CEO, so the former main Gianluca. But of course, our shareholder is actually also the CEO, and is involved in a daily basis on our operations. So we have a direct line with him. So it's a simple organization at the end of the day, but we're 2 steps away from the shareholders, I would say, but with a direct connection.
And that brings me to the topic I definitely wanted to talk with you in this, what's seemingly unique arrangement is a company of this magnitude, this size, this historical and current success, you know, to the credit of this great company. It's unique in that it's not publicly held. It is privately held. You said single shareholder. I'm interested and intrigued by this, and you and I have talked about it before. Share with us what you think as a BD expert, you know, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this model versus, say, the more typical, or at least in the US, the more typical large publicly held corporation? What do you see as the pros and cons in your experience?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, from a general standpoint, many Italian pharmas are privately held with a family business. So if you take 4 years ago, it was still in the hands of the Ricordati family, Chiesi, Dompé. Many Italian companies have been traditionally managed and owned by different families. So it's like a systemic approach to pharma, I would say. In our case, we've been founded 130 years, as I said before. So initially we were like a pharmacy in the center of Milan, close to the cathedral. And then we transformed the company into what it is today, so an innovative biotech. And of course, for us, it's being resilient is the key of our success. And for instance, we've been experiencing during the Second World War a bombing offensive that destroyed all our plants, and being resilient, we are where we are today. And surely Sergio Dompé, our shareholder, is resilient and able to change the company, has been able to change the company in different times. So it's really one of the, if I need to compare pros and cons of working in a privately held company, there are more pros than cons, because once you have a strategy, once you want to transform something, it's easier. The decision process is more lean. You're not worried about a quarterly results or stock fluctuations on anything, but you take decisions that have an impact long term. So when we look backwards, we see 130 years of history. When we look in front of us, we want to see 130 years of more success for the company. So it's a streamlined decision making. It's easier to take the decisions. It's easier to commit to investments, but having a long-term goal. So I see more pros than cons in working in a privately held company compared to the public one. If you are not in need for funding, you know, in our case, and also in the case of many Italian companies, we are debt-free. So we rely on the money that we have been able to generate to invest more in R&D. And there is like, as I said, the long-term vision in everything we do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad you emphasize the long-term nature of planning. There's no question that the model of publicly held companies, there's this immediate shareholder quarterly looking down the road 2 to 3 years in the tenure of the CEO and the current board. And sometimes those decisions, although good for that 2 to 3 to 4 year time frame, may be in contradistinction to the better decision that might be better in 10 to 12 or 15 or 18 years. So I totally agree that the strength of the model is the long-term planning, and hence, this great 130-year history that you're talking about. I couldn't agree more. The history includes pretty substantial, moves and operations in ophthalmology and assets in ophthalmology. What can you tell us about the history or recent history, if nothing else, and then we'll move to the current of Dompé in ophthalmology?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. I think as an organization, we follow the science, and we've been following the science to land in ophthalmology. I like to say in this way. In 1968, Rita Levi di Montalcini has been awarded with a Nobel Prize for the discovery of the NGF. And when in 2010, we in-licensed the NGF with all the rights to develop and commercialize the protein, we follow the science to identify the right indication. And of course, and the NGF being a naturally protein present in the ocular phase and produced by the ocular tissues is essential for many aspects, proliferation, migration, differentiation of corneal epithelial cells. So we've been following this approach to land where we are today. And something unique, we've been developed a biological plant close to Rome in the center of Italy to really control the manufacturing site and identify the right folding for the protein. And I think it was an exercise of being resilient once again to be able in 2018 to launch Oxervate for neurotrophic keratitis. That it was for us a great success also because the authority recognized breakthrough status to our therapy. So we follow the science, we follow the concept of the NGF, and we thought that in ophthalmology would have been the first and the better applications, and so we succeed in bringing the product to the market.
Yeah, Oxervate is an incredible story, and I didn't know the longer history that you just shared with us back to 2010. I know 2018, I think you said correctly, the approval. Tell us about this product now commercially. The science is incredible and well beyond my skill set, although I do understand this concept of the corneal epithelium and why this product would be expected to be relevant to corneal epithelial disease. It makes all the sense in the world, but that doesn't, as you said, always translate into a clinical and or then commercial success. How has this done clinically and commercially in these 5 years? Where is the product being used and for what conditions at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we launched the product in 2018 in the US for neurotrophic keratitis. And we did it ourselves. So back at the time, we didn't have a commercial organization in the US. So we really started from scratch. And I think we were good enough in hiring talented people that have a lot of experience in the US market, especially in ophthalmology. And we built a great team there in the US. We have more than 100 people nowadays. And so for us, it was the satisfaction of bringing the product to the patients and see how the product performs. So as I said, we cover end-to-end the full value chain of drug discovery. We produce the molecule in-house, the protein in-house with our manufacturing plant in L'Aquila, and then we brought the product to the market in the US. So it was a great success for us in looking at how we were good and we succeeded in covering end-to-end the full value chain.
So that's interesting. I didn't know this history. Much of the US operations in recent years, the development of this team of 100 or more people was really developed around the launch and the development of this particular product, Oxervate. Prior to that, it was a much smaller presence in the US.
Yeah, we decided also to increase our R&D presence together with the commercial organization. So I think it was like for us a first step in increasing our presence gradually in the US market, having more and more people in the territory.
And is Oxervate approved in most other European countries as well?
Yes.
Great. Even though we're on the retina today, I'm fascinated by this product. I just want to talk a little more about this because the cornea is such an important area. Are there other cornea-related products in the pipeline associated with Oxervate now with Dompé? And if you can't share anything with us, I'll understand that.
No, what we publicly report and is available on our website, we are currently investigating the NGF in other front of the eye indications, but also in the back of the eye. So I think it's useful to, it's interesting for me to share the concept and hopefully share the data as soon as they will be released. So we think that as a route of administration, the drug can have application not only topically, but also intravitreal, for instance. So we're testing the concept and see if the nerve growth factor can have a role, can play a role also in the back of the eye conditions.
That's amazing. And it does stand to reason, given the mechanism of action of the oxyrvate, that it could have multiple roles beyond just the cornea in the eye. So we're looking forward to learning more about that later after you do some more of this. And you do this science in-house.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. It appears, not just from this conversation, but others that we've had and my own personal observations, that Dompé has an interest in expanding their role in ophthalmology, not just with oxyrvate, but other potential pipeline products. First, is this true? And secondly, if so, what's the driver for this? Was this an active decision that the ophthalmology space is one that is exciting and hot, particularly posterior segment, given the audience we have today? What drove the company and your team, the BD people, the chairman perhaps, to want this move more towards ophthalmology?
Yeah, I think once you have a great group of people with high skills, you need to rely on those to really drive the innovation. So we have very talented people in ophthalmology, and so I think it's an asset for us, the team we have, from an R&D perspective and beyond. So we have a lot of ideas in ophthalmology, and both from an internal development through Escalate and our internal R&D department, and inorganically with our business development. Our intent is, if we find the right products, if we find the right projects, to increase our presence in ophthalmology. As I said, we have some criteria we want to stick with. So we don't want to launch any Me Too product or anything that has very limited impact on patients' life. So there's certain amount of indications that unfortunately are still unserved and still have a high level of unmet medical need. So our intent is to try to come up with solutions for those.
I like the strategy and the idea that you very subtly, with nuance expressed there, which is, hey, we've already built this great team in ophthalmology. Why not run with it? I always use sports analyses or analogies, and I know you're a sports fan, but I'll try to appeal to my European colleagues. It's as if you were to say, hey, we have this great goalkeeper. We should probably build a soccer franchise around a defensive mindset. That will be our strength, is the defense. Same here. If you already have a great team of innovators in ophthalmology who've demonstrated great success with oxyrvate, why not keep going? I totally agree. Rather than the other way around, we like this space, let's move to a whole nother space. Makes great sense. And it seems so logical, but I've seen many companies not do that, put a square peg into a round hole. Stay with the round. Nicely done.
It's a combination of what we created and our principles, so to continue to follow good scientific discoveries. So when there is like a point in common between the two, I think we'll have a match and an opportunity to include something in our pipeline.
Great. And I know within the pipeline, within your paradigm of how you bring along products, you have this amazing program that I'm going to pronounce hopefully correctly, Escalate program. And I want to give you a chance to tell us about what this program is. What is the changing paradigm now of applying artificial intelligence to scientific innovation, in particular in ophthalmology? And I know for this audience, in particular in the posterior segment, are you going to be using the Escalate program to try to evolve products for the posterior segment of the eye? And then again, initially, if you could tell us about the program itself.
Yeah, I mean, Escalate is really like an AI-enabled drug discovery platform. And we've been partnering with Leonardo, that is a supercomputing located in Bologna, that is today the fourth most powerful supercomputing in the world. And really, the intent is to accelerate the drug development timelines, reducing risks, increasing the probability of success, to come up with the best molecule in terms of affinity and in terms of polypharmacology prediction for the right target. So there are multiple ways how the platform can be deployed and leveraged. For us, it's a way of course, feeding our pipeline with innovative projects, but also accelerate third parties' drug development programs. We have a series of partnerships where we collaborate and partner with talented people, talented researchers that have come up with very innovative biological discoveries. And our intent is to try to accelerate through the platform those findings. So we're always scouting for good opportunities. And again, ophthalmology being one of our key area, of course, it's one of our priorities in terms of scouting principle and guidelines.
So that's interesting. Obviously using it for your own internal development of products, but what you're saying is the program is also sort of available to outside third parties who might want to accelerate their own product using your service. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's if we identify and our goal is to try to identify opportunities. If we identify good scientific discoveries, we are very open to entertain conversation and see how the platform can be deployed to accelerate those findings. So yes, it's an ongoing exercise. We would like to increase number of partnerships with the ultimate goal of come up with an innovative solution for patients. So coming back to the principle, for us is instead of taking 3 to 4 years to identify a drug candidate, we've been proven to do it showing in very limited time frame and increasing the probability of success, or the other way around. If you come back to the binary scheme, fail faster. Sometimes it's better to fail fast than fail later. So yes, ultimately, yes, we're looking forward to increasing the number of partnerships.
That's amazing. I love the fail faster comment. That's so correct in this business. And as a venture capitalist with my venture capital hat on, not my retina surgeon, clinician, scientist hat, I love that comment because that saves lots of people lots of money to fail faster and know the end result quicker. That's a brilliant observation and one that's not talked about often enough. Do you think this is, you know, above my pay grade? I don't understand artificial intelligence like many people do. Do you think this is the new paradigm now? Is this something going on at other companies as well, applying AI for innovation acceleration, if we can call it that?
Yeah, I think supercomputing and in silico can really play a role, and it will play a role. So there are many companies that claim to have the most powerful supercomputing in the world, the most powerful AI algorithm. So there will be some companies that for sure they will stood up and prove their hypothesis. It's like all the trends, you know, you can see the name misspelled or misused by many. So it's surely like a new paradigm in drug discovery. And if used correctly, it can really accelerate and reduce times and timelines and increasing the probability of success. So I do believe it will be the new paradigm, yes.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I don't see why not. Thank you. That's an incredibly interesting program. I look forward to hearing and learning more about it. It sounds like you guys are going to be doing more and more in ophthalmology and in the US, which is great. We're glad you are. What do you finally, what do you see as for both the company and then yourself individually? What's the future in a perfect world for Dompé in the next 5 to 10 years? What would they like to be doing? What would they like to have accomplished? And then subsequently for yourself individually, you're a very successful man at a young age. How do you see your career then unfolding over the next 5, 10 years? What would you like to see for yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for the company, if I'm allowed to say so, success can be like being perceived as a player that continue to generate breakthrough scientific innovation and scientific discoveries, and potentially be a leader in our core areas, and again, potentially in the ophthalmology space. So I'm sure that if we will continue to innovate and come up with something that is meaningful and breakthrough, we will have success. So everything coming back to the innovation funnel and the binary outcome, if our platform and our scientists and our R&D department will continue to generate what we are generating, I hope Dompé will be much more recognized as a scientific leader between the scientific community in the future. For myself, I would like to be part of that, and potentially I started my career with the will of having an impact in my consulting work. I'd like to have more and more an impact in Dompé and be part of the success story we will create. So I see myself here in 5 to 10 years, and hopefully we will have another chart and another molecules brought to the market to solve some of the needs that patients still have.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with all that, and as trying to be as impartial as possible, being your friend, I'm happy that you're in ophthalmology, and I'm sure that both you and Dompé will achieve these goals because you guys have it really dialed in. I think your strategy is spot on. I'm just one guy, but you guys are doing it the right way, and I think this Escalate program and your business development ideas are going to succeed and already have shown so much success. So good luck with those projects, not just for the next 5 or 10 years, but the next 20 or 30. And again, Gianluca Rossetti, my friend, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to continuing to participate and join the OIS events, and it's a pleasure for me to participate.
Thank you.